Okay, so I'm going to try to do a podcast tonight. I've got this stunningly beautiful friend who is just such a delight called Bethany. And she has started a sewing podcast a while ago. And she really inspired me. I'll try and put a link, but I'm clueless. So if I can't get a link, I'll try something else. So this is my first episode. I think it's called the episode. But for now, I'll call it the episode because I don't know what else to do. So I love knitting. I'm terrible at gardening, but I love it. So my secret power is I kill plants. And then, of course, I sew. I've been sewing since I was about 3 years old. My gran sewed, my mom sewed, and my gran tells the story of me being about 3 and I was playing with buttons at her feet. And there was a scrap of gingham and I actually remember it. And so I picked it up. I think it was like a purple and a white gingham. And I found some cotton and thread in red. And I sewed it up and I went and I fetched my doll and I put it on my doll. And it actually fitted. So my gran was so impressed that she started teaching me how to make my doll's clothes. But she was such a tyrant. I loved her to bits, but she was strict. So what she would do is she would let me unpick my doll's clothes if it wasn't perfect. And she used to say, my darling, anything you make needs to be worn inside out. It needs to be that neat that you can wear it inside out. So it stuck. So at the moment I need a grey tall skirt. So I'm doing all the gathers. And to gather a skirt of this magnitude, because tall is not very thick, so you need quite a lot. So each quarter, so what I do is I take the piece, and then I take the smaller piece because I'm making like a tire skirt. So the smaller piece you separate it into 4 parts, and then the bigger piece you separate into 4 parts, and then you pin it. But when you do the gathering stitch, see if I can get it to, yeah, there you can see. So I did the gathering stitch in another color. You do it in you do them 2 rows or 3 rows depending on what's best for you. I just do 2 rows because I'm lazy. And then because it's done in quarters, you now don't have such a big piece to gather. So I will be gathering all of this onto that part, and then I've got another one that this part will be gathered onto, and I will follow the same principle. So that is my story about sewing. Now I'm going to tell you about knitting. I love knitting. I've always loved knitting. I've got a bit of an ADD problem. It used to be quite serious. So for me to be able to concentrate when I was growing up, my hands had to be busy. So I constantly got into trouble for fidgeting. And it got to a point where I would constantly have my hands moving. So I'm really trying to keep it quiet and keep it still, but I'm not very successful. So please bear with me. So anyway, somewhere along the line, I think it was about 5 or 6, I started learning to knit. But it was a disaster because I'm left-handed and everybody who was trying to teach me was right-handed. In the end, my dad actually sat me down in front of him. So I was on this side, he was on that side. And he had his knitting needles and I had mine. Because, he broke his leg when he was 8 years old. And my gran taught him to knit. My father's grandfather, or grandma. My father's mother. My mother's mother is the one who taught me how to sew. So my dad sat me down, and because I was so desperate, I would have these needles and I would just make stitches like this. It used to be so funny. So I would just do it like that. And then I would call it putting stitches on. And my mom was pregnant at the time with my brother. And my sister, who was 4 years older than me, she was knitting him a blanket. And I so badly wanted to knit. So I would just make these stitches. And I couldn't knit. And I would have all these needles all over the house full of stitches. Which, as soon as you knit this type of stitch, it actually doesn't work that well. But I didn't know any better. So he taught me how to knit. And it took off from there. And from there onwards, I would always have some knitting with me. And it got so bad at one stage, I would go to church, and the only way I could actually concentrate was to sit and knit. So I would sit on the balcony in church, and I would sit and knit while listening to the preacher. Because, some preachers are a bit boring. And my parents just left me after a while because they realized that there was no hope for me in that sense. So I knitted about 200 jerseys in my life. I don't have any of them. I think I've got one left. I've given them all away. And then I was living in Germany at one stage, and when I moved back to South Africa, it was too expensive to bring them back because, you know, wool jerseys are quite heavy, and so on and so forth. So then, about 3 years ago, my hands got really painful in my wrists and in my joints and everything, and I couldn't knit anymore. And it was the worst thing ever. I felt like my life was falling apart. So I changed my diet and I started doing a lot of green smoothies. And everybody looks at me and they call it Shrek juice, and I think I'm totally bonkers to drink green juice. So I've got, like I said, I love gardening, even though I kill my plants on a regular basis. So I go through my garden, and then whatever leaves are available at that moment, I will pick them. So it can be dandelion leaves, it can be spinach leaves. My poor spinach plants, they usually have like 3 or 4 leaves because there's something going on with my spinach. I don't know. I live close to the coast, so trying to get my spinach growing with this east wind and all the sea air is almost impossible. But I've got tenacity, so I'm keeping going, and I will not give up. One day I'm going to grow proper plants. I might show you some pictures if I can insert them somewhere. I always see these bloggers and they do these things like, oh, and I will insert it in the footnotes or whatever. And yeah, maybe I might be able to do it. I'm going to try. So let me show you. Oh yes, I was telling you about the jerseys. So I've knitted about 200 jerseys in my life. I also spin and I do a bit of weaving, but it's not really spectacular. And to put up I can't remember, you can know the threads that you put the weaving through. I've got a small little weaving frame which I love, and somebody put the threads up, and I'm really fearful of the day when that runs out, because then I'm going to have a problem. Then I'll have to find somebody to put up some wool again. But anyway, I love it. So spinning, I love spinning. I love making wool. It's one of the most amazing experiences to sit there and the spinning machine just going. I'll show you a video in the future of me spinning if you want to see it. So I sit there and I spin, and it's just so relaxing to sit and to spin and to have the spinning wheel going. And in the end, it's almost like meditation, but I love it. So anyway, I love spinning, I love knitting. And then 2 years ago, let me track back. South Africa is quite warm, most places. I've mostly lived in the warm places. So we don't really wear a lot of wool. It's really just too warm. We love cotton. I love cotton. I love natural fibers. I've got a bit of a tactile intolerance, so other fibers just don't work. You will find me going the whole time. So anyway, I gave up on that. I find fleece is actually quite acceptable. Well, as you can see me at the moment, it doesn't look like it's quite warm. It's a bit cold at the moment, but it's not really normal. We might have like 2 or 3 weeks in a year where it's really cold, and the rest of the time it's bearable. So anyway, I learned about sock knitting. I've always wanted to knit socks, but because it's warm, you don't wear woolen socks. And then I looked at the fine needles, because I don't mind knitting with fine needles, but I'm quite impatient sometimes, so I want things to go quick. So I prefer this way. Now I've been watching podcasts about knitting, and I'm hearing about worsted weight and lace weight and all those different things. I don't have a clue what it is. I've been reading up about it, and I understand now that some is thicker than others. So this, you use about a 8, I think it's called American 8, I'm not sure, needle. So this was the normal type of wool I would knit with. I did a few things in really thin wool, which took me forever. So my friends we had a movie club. I used to love going to the movies. And then what we would do is we would start in the morning as soon as the movie house opened, and we would do this marathon right through the day. And actually tonight, when the movie house closed, we would finally walk out, and then we would watch every single movie that was available. And it used to be so much fun. So my friends used to love watching thrillers. Now, I don't do well with those. I don't do well with that type of thing. I get really scared. I mean, I actually climbed on the one guy's lap where I didn't know at one stage when I watched Lord of the Rings. I think it was the 2 Towers or something like that. So I don't do well. So they would take me and let me bring my knitting. So the rest of them would sit there and watch these movies, and I was like just trying to survive the whole movie. But it was a lot of fun. So anyway, so yeah, I usually knit with this thickness. But then I heard about sock knitting. It's a whole world out there. I don't know. Maybe I should have tried it earlier because I've done some gloves in the past with fingers and everything, but I've never, I think I've knitted one pair of socks when I was living in Germany. There was, the lady I was working for, her granny died and all her half knitted stuff came to this woman. So I finished it because I was bored. And I love knitting and I didn't have money for wool, so I just finished that. And there was this beautiful Aran wool, I think it's called Aran wool, and it was like cables and stuff. So I finished this. The one was done and the other one was started this much, but it was long socks up to your knee. And so I finished it for my boyfriend at the time's brother for Christmas. So that's the only socks I ever knitted. So about a month ago, 2 months ago, I went to visit my friend in Gauteng. Now I'm in the Eastern Cape, so we have not a lot of things going on here. It's beautiful, but if you want to buy something, you have to plan. You find it, but you won't really find what you're looking for. For example, I've been looking for sock wool. Sock wool. Everybody talks about sock wool. There we go. So in this whole area, I haven't been able to find any. Oh, sorry about this. Then I went to Joburg and I found this kit. My friend actually gave it to me for a present. But anyway, this kit came with the pattern, which is very nice, and all the notes. And then the wool was inside, or yeah, it was real wool with like sock wool, 20% and 80% wool, 20% acrylic. Otherwise, the heels and the toes go through. So the only color they had was maroon. Luckily, I like maroon. So I finished this pair, and it was so much fun knitting it. But my friend is from Norway, and she was going back there, and I think they need wool socks more than we need it in South Africa, so I gave it to her for her birthday. So then I scratched through my stuff and I found, did I scratch? Yes, I found one bowl while I was in Joburg. I think it was in Joburg. I found one bowl of black. No, it wasn't. It was here where I live. I found a bowl of black wool, sock wool. And then I still had this, like a small amount left. So I decided, one is not really enough for a pair of socks. So I used the blue for the toes and the heels and the top, but I will have to do this heel. I will have to unpick it and rip it back a bit so that I can knit it up, because as you can see, I don't think you can see, but the heel does feel a bit small. So it's done, and then I finished this one, but I made the toes too tight, so I need to re-knit this one. But look, I've got another pair of almost done socks. I think I'm so clever, although I've seen some beautiful socks online. One day I'll knit those. One day when I'm grown up. But I'm grown up already, so it needs to be soon. So anyway, then I had some hand-spun wool that I found in a place close by. And I love it. My dad got it for me. And so I'm starting to knit in cable socks, because every girl needs a pair of hand-spun wool cable socks in her cupboard. And then I realized, but the heels and the toes, it's going to be a problem. So I couldn't find this color, but I think this one might work. I don't know if you can't really see the color. It's a more bit pinkish, but I'm going to try it. And then I scratched through my stash, because now I remember I haven't knitted for 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. So I've started recently again when my hands got better, and I found this cotton. And it is 100 grams. Now, usually sock wool come in 50 grams. Let me show you this one. Oh yeah, I want to show you this one. So, in the whole of this area where I live, I've been able to find 2 bowls of sock wool. And this was one of them. But it's only 50 grams. And it is 200 meters, about 220 yards. And it's 80 wool, 20 nylon. But it's beautiful. Now, I didn't really know how to knit from a toe up, but I figured it out. So I casted the stitches on at the toes, and I'm doing a lace stitch. I love lace stitches. I'm following the basic pattern, but it's not, I'm just going to play with it. Because another problem that I have, I'm not good at following patterns and recipes. I love what I see, but I always kind of like changing it. I'm working on that. So this toe was done, I think it's called the Kitchener cast off. I don't know if you can see. So anyway, it's all in one. Okay, But this one I cast on from the toe and it made a little ridge. So I'm not sure I like it because my toes don't like ridges. I don't wear socks with ridges, but I'm going to try. But it doesn't feel too bad, so I'm going to try. So anyway, as you can see, my ADD took over. No, it's not my ADD. Sometimes I have ADD. And before I could finish the first pair, I had this brilliant idea and I started the second pair. And before I could finish the second pair, I had another brilliant good idea, and I found the wool, of course, so I started the third pair. But now I have put a stop to it because you're not supposed to have so many things going. And the stop actually came when I realized that I have all these UFOs. Now, UFO is something that's been lying or stuck away in a cupboard or somewhere, and you never finished it. So there's quite a lot of sewing UFOs. I'll show you that next time. But there's some serious UFOs for knitting. So, the first thing I did, I finished this jersey. The wool looks a bit funny, but I'm sure it will wash right. This was a 10-year project. Now, I can knit a jersey in 2 weeks if I sit down and I knit and I watch a lot of television, which I don't do anymore, because there's much nicer things to do. Anyway, look at this. I don't know what you call the wool. I've lost the thing, but it's nice and fluffy, but it's too warm for where we are. So, I'm part of triplets, and my sisters and I have a birthday coming up soon, and I'm going to give one of them this jersey, because she understands how to wash hand-knitted stuff. The other one of us, we triplets, we 3 girls, she doesn't really get it. She loves it, she thinks it's beautiful, but she doesn't understand that certain things have to be handled with care and more gentle. So I'm not going to knit her a jersey. I'll just buy her something. Actually, I did. I got her a beautiful dressing gown a while ago, and I had it embroidered with her initials and everything, so that's fine. She had a present already. So that is the thing that I actually finished this past Sunday. So today is Thursday, the 13th of July, 2017. And I'm just thinking about I think it's the last 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And I've been all over the show. And you know, you get these people who does this amazing podcasts, and everything is so organized, and it's here's my UFOs, and here's what I'm doing, and maybe I'll get there, maybe I won't. And I don't know if anybody's going to watch this. But you know what? I'm basically doing this for myself. Because I don't really like cameras. I have alopecia. I've had it for 27 years. And some people say stuff about it. So at the moment, I've got my hat, but I don't mind showing my head. I actually don't mind being bald anymore. Some days it bothers me when my head's cold and I'm trying to sleep. And sometimes when my sisters do their hair nice, or when I plait my friend's hair, I would really have loved to be able to plait my hair. But it doesn't really bother me that much. No, actually it doesn't bother me. So anyway, I wear a hat when it's winter. In summer, I might wear something on my head, I might not, depending on. But there's something you need to remember. Firstly, with hair, you lose 25% of your body heat. Without hair, you lose a lot more. Secondly, the sun is dangerous. So, if you don't want to look like a globe the next day, you put on a hat. Just a short note for anybody else who thinks about going outside there, even if you're in Europe or any of those nice, beautiful, cool places where the sun is not so hot, you still wear a hat. And sunscreen, don't forget the sunscreen. But let me put mine on, my head's cold. So I think that's it for today. I've rambled more than enough. This is my kitchen, and it's neat for a change. Usually, I'm not so neat. I like it neat. I like a place really beautiful. Oh, I love a beautiful place. And I love my house. But it's not always neat. Because you know what? You can't be creative and neat. You have to choose. Either you're creative or you're neat. But the two don't go well together. I'm going to show you the mess I'm just having here in front of me. Can you see? Who cares? As long as you're happy and as long as you're enjoying yourself, that's all that matters. So, It was funny. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye now. Let me just hold it. I'm going to say goodbye now. I hope you guys have a good time. And maybe next time I'll figure out where to look in the screen, because it's quite confusing. I think I need to look there, because there's the camera. But I feel like I want to look here. Oh, anyway. Have a good week. I might speak to you next week. I might not. This might be a once-off. This might be a regular occurrence. We'll see.